The movie takes place in 1996 at Fort Kochi, Kerala. As the movie begins, we're introduced to a college student named Tanay. He belongs to a traditional Marathi Hindu family. Although he's gay, it appears that his family and the people around him are clueless about his sexual orientation. In the next scene, as Tanay is attending a college lecture, his teacher asks the class if anyone has ever experienced migration. In response to his question, Tanay raises his hand and says that his family had to relocate from Kerala to Maharashtra in the 1980s due to his father's work. He goes on to describe how difficult it was for his family to settle and adapt to the new place. A while later, Tanay is seen in the college talking to his teacher. Suddenly, his brother Asim shows up and informs him that their grandfather has passed away. Immediately, Tanay and Asim rush to find their sister Anuja, who is playing hockey on the ground, and they all hurry back to their house. Back home, Tanay expresses that his grandfather's passing is fortunate because he was a horrible person. In the meantime, Tanay and Anuja argue about who should take over the grandfather's room now that he's gone. Tanay states that he must take the room because Anuja already has a single room, but he has to share one with Asim. A while later, they take their grandfather's body for cremation. Later, Tanay discovers that Michael Jackson is visiting India while reading the newspapers. He seems to be delighted with the news. Happily, he visits the nearby lake and talks with a tortoise he has named Pablo Neruda, after his favorite author. He tells Pablo that now that his grandfather has passed away, Tanay is free to occupy his room and is able to read and write as much as he wants in peace. Cobalt Blue is a riveting tale about two siblings belonging to a traditional Marathi family who fell in love with the same man. Watch how the events unfold as Tanay and Anuja discover themselves and their restrictions as the mysterious man charms both of them. Moving on, Anuja is worried since her grandmother is not responding to anything. When Mary, a neighboring nun, checks the grandmother's pulse, they discover that she too has passed away. Later, Tanay's father asks him to write letters to all of their relatives in light of the passing of their grandparents. Anuja has her period while out with her friends, causing her clothes to be ruined. Therefore, Mary takes Anuja to her home and provides her with clean clothes. Meanwhile, despite Mary being a nun, Anuja finds a photograph of a male actor in her cupboard. Next, when Tanay's mother discovers several creams in his cupboard, she confronts him about using feminine products. However, Tanay brushes her off by claiming that anyone can use it since it's a common product. Later, on his way to class, he runs into some students who are protesting the college. Then, the protest leader asks Tanay to write a speech for them since he's a good writer. He also offers Tanay an invitation to a party that will take place that evening. Tanay, however, turns them down right away and leaves. Later that day, he pays a visit to his teacher's house. He says that since he doesn't have a TV in his room, he lacks the privacy to watch the movies he wants. Then, Tanay is told by the teacher that he's always welcome to visit if he needs to read a book or watch a movie in solitude. It looks like his teacher is romantically interested in him. However, Tanay feels a little uncomfortable and leaves right away. In the next scene, a religious ceremony is in progress at Tanay's home. In the meantime, Tanay tells his mother that he wants to move into his grandfather's room, but his mother tells him he can't have the room since they're taking a paying guest. Hearing this, Tanay becomes upset and goes to the lake to talk with Pablo, guessing whether the paying guest will be a boy or a girl. While having breakfast, Anuja expresses to the rest of the family her desire to pursue a career in hockey. Hearing this, her father and brother start poking fun at her and don't seem to take her seriously. One day, when Tanay returns from college, he discovers a new bicycle in front of his home. Later, his mother introduces him to a man as a new paying guest and requests that he show the paying guest to his new room. After a brief discussion, it appears that both of them have a passion for literature and the arts. After showing the room, Tanay takes the paying guest to the lake, where he frequently meets Pablo. However, Pablo doesn't show up anywhere. Tanay continues by saying that Pablo doesn't come at anyone's invitation and only arrives when he desires. The name of the paying guest is never revealed in the movie. About his family, all that is known is that his father worked as a consultant for the Indian embassy in Paris. Later, Tanay notices the paying guest has many pictures of other men as he helps unloading the belongings. He inquires curiously about who these people are and whether they're his friends, but the man says nothing in response and continues arranging the stuff. Meanwhile, Tanay and the man spend quite some time together. They even share a drink, and the man takes a photo of Tanay while he sleeps. Later at midnight, Tanae gets up and goes to the paying guest's room upstairs. Apparently, he does nothing except continue to gaze at the man while he sleeps. The next morning, while Anuja returns from the game, she notices the new paying guest. After that, Tanae and the man walk to the room upstairs to study. Meanwhile, Anuja says that she would also like to go to the upstairs room, but her father refuses. The following night, Tanae and the man travel across the lake on a little boat. They both appear to have fallen in love with one another and get intimate with each other. In the morning, they see an elephant in front of them when they first wake up. After that day, the two start dating and appear to be in a happy relationship. In the meantime, Anuja tries to persuade Tanae that she would also like to see the paying guest's room. Then she suddenly spots him sipping water from a plastic bottle. As she scolds him for damaging the environment, he throws the bottle there, asking her to pick it up. For some reason, Anuja seems to be captivated by him. Next, Anuja asks Tanae for some deodorant and cosmetic cream and requests that he teach her how to apply them. She then asks Tanae once more to let her see the upstairs room, but Tanae refuses her and leaves. A while later, Tanae's teacher asks him why he doesn't visit his home anymore. Tanae replies that he's occupied with his studies at the moment. Hearing that, the teacher extends an invitation to visit his house later that evening. However, Tanae brushes him off, saying that he's quite busy tonight. Back at the home, Tanae's mother is telling Mary that Asim has found the ideal woman to marry. However, as Anuja is the oldest child, he cannot marry before her. Meanwhile, Tanae spends the majority of his time alone in the room of the paying guest. While he waits for the man, he reads and writes poems in peace. The following day, when the man shows up, Tanae questions him about his whereabouts and his absence from home. But the man only responds by saying he didn't feel like returning home. Then Tanae admits that he was missing him a lot. In the next scene, Asim's marriage is almost finalized, but because he can't wed before Anuja, the entire family is pressuring her to think about the men they've picked out for her. Anuja replies she doesn't want to get married and that her goal is to become a professional hockey player. However, her parents are unable to understand her and continue to put pressure on her to select a man as soon as possible. That night, Tanae tries to get intimate with the paying guest. However, the man brushes him off by stating that he wants to be alone tonight. Upset, Tanae goes downstairs and sleeps outside in a tree. The next morning, he's startled from sleep by his mother's screams. She reveals to him that Anuja has fled with the paying guest and hands him a letter she left behind. The entire family is furious, but Tanae is still unable to grasp what has happened. He goes on to look for him and finds a picture of himself that seems similar to the photos he has found of other people in the man's room. Next, we see Asim and Supriya get engaged. In the meantime, Tanae visits the room of the paying guest and discovers his shirt. He starts writing a narrative in memory of his lover while wearing that shirt. After some time, Anuja unexpectedly returns home. She says that she had fled with the paying guests, but 2 days prior, he already left Pondicherry, leaving her on her own. She returns since she believed he was going back home. She asks Tanae about his whereabouts, but he doesn't respond anything as he's still in shock. Shortly after, Mary, a close friend of Anuja, shows up and informs her that her father will now put restrictions on her. Despite this, she wants Anuja to keep pursuing her goals. She also offers Anuja some cash, which Anuja tries to refuse. However, Mary eventually convinces her to accept it, and she goes on to say that she had never intended to become a nun. Like her, she doesn't want Anuja to live the life imposed by others. A while later, the family learns from Mary that Anuja and the paying guest were physically intimate. Hearing this, her father asks her to file rape charges against the man, but she refuses to do so, stating that he didn't force her to do anything. She goes on to say that he helped her discover herself and never demanded that she change anything about herself. When Tanae hears this, he becomes even more upset. Furiously, he visits his teacher's house and gets physically intimate with him. Then he informs his teacher that his ex-boyfriend has left him for a woman. In the following scene, Anuja's family is forcing her to meet men so that she can get married as soon as possible. On the other hand, Tanae's teacher tries to impose himself on him, but Tanae refuses him. Following him, his teacher clarifies that because they are gay, they are viewed as criminals in this nation. He continues by saying that his father gave him electric shock years ago, believing homosexuality to be a mental illness. Next, while she's playing hockey on the field, Asim drags Anuja home. Then, according to her father, she's not allowed to leave the house until she's married. She feels helpless and, seeing no options, writes a letter of application to the Indian Hockey Association for the position of junior coach. After a few days, she asks Mary to submit the application on her behalf. In the meantime, Tanay's family tries to take out the paying guest's belongings and burns them. However, Tanay quickly manages to save a couple of the items, which he carefully hides. A while later, he visits his teacher's house and asks for a blank letterhead of the college. His teacher hands him the letterhead after signing it. One day, the family receives a letter that says Tanay has been chosen for the International Writing Program. However, he must depart that day, as stated in the letter. Anuja approaches him in the meantime and says that she can sense Tanay has been furious with her ever since she returned. Whatever the situation, she says she sincerely wants to apologize to him. Soon after, Tanay departs the house after saying a final goodbye to Pablo. Meanwhile, Mary tells Anuja that she's been chosen to be the hockey coach in Nagaland. Anuja, who is delighted, leaves the house without telling anyone. Shortly after, she finds several photos of Tanay and the paying guest in her bag as she is being transported by boat. She cries as she discovers the truth about the relationship between his brother and a man she loved. In the following scene, Tanay is seen sleeping on the train as a woman steals his typewriter and flees. He doesn't seem to be doing well, to be honest, and steals food from other people and eats it while hiding behind a tree. The title of his novel, Cobalt Blue, enters his mind at that very moment. Flash forward to a few years, and Tanay's book has achieved great success. In a bookstore, the paying guest discovers Cobalt Blue, and he becomes emotional. We find that Tanay has dedicated the novel to Pablo, his friend at the lake. As the movie comes to an end, we find that Pablo is Tanay himself and not any tortoise. That was it for today, guys. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. If you fancy more recaps, check out this video now.